Hello my little filmer dudes and my super sleuths, my name is Montero and welcome back to another, well actually this is a Only Murders in the Building season 4 review. Kind of, it's a breakdown slash defense of the finale. There's so much to unpack. Honestly, what a phenomenal episode. Though admittedly a bit wonky, this finale in actuality is quite genius from a writer's perspective. Genius, and beautiful, might I add. But I think that's more to do with the season as a whole, because this season lobbed this one up pretty high. What a sensation to be exactly correct. My God. So buckle up my filmer dudes and super sleuths. We're gonna break down this finale and we're gonna review this season in hopes that you might forgive some of the things and see this finale through mine eyes. Season 4 as a whole, I'd argue rivals season 1. I mean, come on, the show has never been this good with the cinematography, the acting, the stakes, and the score this season. That has got to be some of the best pieces we've ever gotten from Siddhartha Khosla. Sazz's melody, oh my God. Is season 4 better than season 1? Honestly, I'm not sure if anyone out there would say that season 4 is better than season 1. However, I will say that this is likely my favorite season for various reasons. Not only do I connect personally with Sazz, Charles, and even Marshall to a degree, but the subject matter hits so close to home with me being an aspiring screenwriter and an aspiring director with my own short film currently in the works. So I relate a lot to this season. Plus tons of inside baseball references to Hollywood, like the small personal film with a budget of $200 million, or our algorithm says it'll be a hit as long as we release it by Christmas. We're all so funny. There actually is an algorithm. It's so funny. Also, the writing this season was stellar. Truly, hats off to the writers of this season. In retrospect, the clues were all right there in season 1. Sorry, episode 1. The setup was in our faces the entire time. I mean, yes, I got it exactly correct in my episode 1 theory video, so it stands to reason that if I was able to get it with the few clues that they laid out, then anyone could have been able to get it. But the writers got everything down to the character work and the character motivations, arcs, and development. Chef's kiss. And honestly, I wonder if a lot of people are upset with this finale because you got too invested in something that you personally wanted and you wanted something that you didn't actually get. So you're upset by that, and I understand that. That's what happened to me with Deadpool and Wolverine. My expectations were too high for that movie, and they still are. However, there's beauty in simplicity. With this finale, you just have to look at it on a psychological level. Do not confuse mysteries with drama, my little filmer dudes and super sleuths, because at the end of the day, you kinda low-key have to admit the facts. You can either be upset you got duped, or you can be impressed that you got duped. And I'm choosing to be impressed that I got duped, because I still got duped. I was convinced to the very end that there was multiple murderers, that there was gonna be one. Marshall Rex had a person helping him because it just seemed like there was no other way. But nope, there was one, and it was brilliantly done. I'm impressed. The only gripe I have is the Westies inclusion within this story. I really wanted there to be 2 murders. How insane that would have been. Here's the thing, by distracting us with another crime and not connecting those 2 crimes, it low-key feels like our time was wasted because so much investigation went into something that we're not gonna see fully pay off, in my opinion. We just needed some compelling suspects, I get it. But their storyline ultimately felt unnecessary, and connecting the 2 crimes would have totally made everybody go, oh dear God, that's genius. Instead, we got a Knives Out light. I still have my eyes on the sauces though. Where's your last name, Sauce family? I also understand that the episode is touching for a lot of people, as a lot of people can relate to these characters' stories. So in that regard, I let it pass because I relate with Sazz/Marshall, their stories in a way, and that's how I was able to figure this out. So again, I let it pass because they did good job with the peoples. But I theorized about a second murder all the way in episode 3, all because of Helga's language barrier. Was this on purpose? Part of me has to believe that this was. In my episode 3 video, I said that Helga's threat seemed similar to the notes that the trio got in season season 1. Therefore, the Westies had to have poisoned Winnie. The Westies had to have been threatening them. The Westies had to have been doing all of the things to terrorize them. But no, that wasn't the case. She wasn't threatening them, she was warning them. I just mistranslated it because of recency bias and language barriers. My parents are bilingual. Actually, I'm bilingual as well. Si, senor. But growing up, I do remember English being difficult for my parents because of the different intonations and the fact that Spanish doesn't literally translate to English. So I imagine that's the same for different languages. Because I mean, after all, the writers went out of their way to say that the person, the big bad, the Thanos, the Professor Moriarty of this whole ordeal is left-handed. They did their research for left-handedness. So it stands to reason that the writers researched language and communication, intonations, and language barriers as well. Is this brilliance or is this coincidence? You decide. All right, so let's talk about Marshall, or shall I say Rex, and Sazz. I'm gonna try to do this without crying because while writing the script, I kept getting a little too emotionally heated, and I'm gonna try to say all of this without crying because every time I watch any of these scenes, oh boy, it gets me every time. Gets me good. I lose it. The writing is palpably relatable. If you're an artist with a big dream, more so a movie dream since this is a movie theme, then you'll fully understand these emotions. I am amazed at how well the writers were able to make me completely hate Marshall and Rex, two of the same. But I was right there with Charles when Charles said, nah, he killed my friend. I was like, yeah, Charles, you go get him. You go get him, Charles. Did I want Charles to kill Marshall? The first scene is where Sazz shows Rex her script, the flashback bit of Rex's story. I was gripping my seat, and it wasn't until Rex lied to her face that the script was awful, but in actuality, it was good. Oh my god, that got me angry. Oh, his jealousy. That's a little setup. That's actually the scene. The scene that got me good is when Sazz confronts Rex about him stealing her script, and he had the audacious goal to utter the words, "She bought our script." I mean, I fully yelled at my screen, "That's not yours, bro!" And Sazz put him in his place. Her frustration, her anger, plus the fact that she was gonna ask Charles's permission before selling the script because she's just that kind of an individual. She's so insanely considerate as a friend. I saw the mess that Rex made, and I've been in a similar situation, mind you. So I get it, Sazz. I get it. And her response to Marshall, never the F you mind, was powerful. Jane Lynch is freaking legend. Sazz's only mistake here was telling Marshall exactly where she was going and exactly where she would be. That classic mistake. But she is a virtuous person, and so she is clearly gonna tell Rex, this is what I'm gonna do. Yeah, bitch. The next scene kind of goes hand in hand with the rest of the season, honestly, but this to me is a humongous payoff of a bunch of setup for the character of Sazz and her friendship with Charles. The final confrontation between victim and murderer. Rex asks Sazz where the script with her name on it, where is it? And any murder mystery fan should get the wigglies with that line. Such a classic line. Where's the evidence that only points to you with your name on it? So classic. And the only two things that she responds to him is, he's gonna get you. And you can see the freaking fear on Marshall's face. And then she says, my number one. Oh boy, let's unpack that. In my season 3 review, I said that Sazz's death has got to be one of the saddest and darkest deaths on this show because she died pretty much alone in that apartment. She got shot and freaking was left there. However, as season 4 has shown us, that wasn't quite the case. Rex watched her die, which some would say is arguably worse, but let me quell something for you guys. You see, Sazz died confidently. What did she say that was a job of the stuntman? Oh yeah, have no fear when it was time to tap in. She was tapping in at that moment and letting Rex know that she has absolute no fear of him, and she has full confidence in her absolute best friend in the entire world to capture this individual and to avenge her death. She didn't want to die afraid. Instead, she literally threw that fear into Marshall. And again, you could see that fear on his face as soon as she said, "He's gonna get you." My homegirl died well. I would even argue that she died happy because she wholeheartedly believed in Charles so much that she already knew the outcome. Isn't that amazing? And I did actually lose it when she told him he's gonna get you. I lose it every time when I watch it. And I've been holding him back so much. I'm gonna put eye drops in my eyes because it's gonna get a lot. Oh no, do I not have them? And I think the writers put this moment in there to, I think the writers put this moment in there because we needed to see a moment in which justice prevailed. Justice prevailed before, and I love seeing justice prevail, man. It's my favorite thing. It's me so much serotonin because Sazz was an angel. She had a dream, and that dream was freaking snatched, and she was so damn close. And honestly, I kind of low-key glad that Marshall died because even though I'm all about the second chances, well, Marshall did. Killing Sazz and robbing her dream is absolutely unforgivable to me. I'm sorry. You could kill someone, and I might be like, okay, I might see where this might lead, but if you kill someone and then take her dream, sorry. But that's a no for me. Swipe left. Yes? The third scene is the one where Charles sees Sazz's ghost for the final time on set, and they have the briefest but most beautiful exchange. But notice how Sazz's melody has a quicker tempo, more brighter, and has fuller notes. This version of the song, The Meaning of Sazz, will always make me happy and will always make me warm, and I've been listening to it on repeat non-stop, and everything in this scene coupled with this song brought the whole season to a finality point for me. I will never forget Sazz's words. You did good. You did it, Charles. You brought your best friend's killer to justice. You brought her dream to life, and you made Sazz very, very proud. But I think the part that really gets me is seeing that writer's chair empty after she was longing to sit in that chair in the first episode. But then Charles making a way for her was very touching. But that scene will always get me. And when Sazz and Charles do their little hat thing, that was a very nice callback to season 3 with Mabel and Ben Glenroy doing their little gun thing. I totally lost it. I will admit that full on tears. Other notable moments in this season was when Charles was on the ledge and he actually cries out to Sazz saying, "Sazz, I need you." Oh man, the heartstrings. And then just like Sazz would way back on their Brazos time, Oliver taps Charles's shoulder and says, "That is why I'm here." Charles's emergency contact. Isn't that beautiful? Charles may have lost Sazz, but he now has Oliver, his future colonoscopy buddy, and the two of them step dragging across the window was hilarious. Then did you catch it? Marble told Bad freaking Melon that she would prefer to tell the story of Sazz over telling one of Buttons. So that means she's going to use whatever large sum of money that she got from Paramount to tell this story, likely in podcast form. So good! But my question is, who is going to start the Sazz Pataki Impact Academy? Because let's be real, this movie wasn't Sazz's dream. She just wanted to sell her script to use the money to open the academy. So if Charles doesn't open it for her, will he have failed as a mother? As a friend? You'll forever be my best friend if you understand where that reference is from. Alright, so let's defend Marshall as this season's perfectly flawed killer and why the simplicity of this crime speaks volumes of the genius in the psychology of a person with passion and trauma turned killer in a moment's notice. Is this an essay? Oh, what a thesis! I'm a little proud. The biggest thing to note in here is that, like I said in my last 2 videos, this crime is a crime of passion. It's just an artistic passion. A lot of people are saying he just wants to save his career, and that's kind of correct. But if that were the case, I feel like he would have thought things out a little bit further. This spoke sloppy and just one thing after another. We just assumed it was more methodical than it truly was, because crimes of passion are not really well thought out or thought out at all. Marshall didn't think about all the risks or think about the murder all the way out. Girl, he was about to kill Sazz on the street in front of everyone. He did not have his mind in the right place. There was no complete thought that went through his head throughout any of this. He simply stopped at shoot Sazz Pataki. What we were witnessing, my filmer dudes and super sleuths, was a steady degradation of someone's psychosis from the weight of personal trauma. Trauma that he could have chosen to dispel using professional methods such as therapy, but instead chose a different route that many also choose, but unfortunately that route didn't choose him back. Writing or entertainment. Because I mean, you either got it or you don't. I mean, what did Marshall say? Oh yeah, taking my trauma and monetizing it should have worked. Hilarious, but unfortunately sadly true for so many. If the writing thing didn't work out for him, it's probably because he didn't actually have a real story to tell. It was a daddy issue story, a story we've heard so many times before. So essentially, he didn't really want to tell a story, he just wanted to prove his dad wrong in any way that he thought would make his dad angry. Rewatch episode 5's opening. His psychosis break is actually on full display, and we just didn't know at the time. We thought he was just an awkward guy. I know many of you didn't enjoy not seeing Marshall's father and only be told about his father, but again, I think that is the point. I 1000% guarantee and bet the life of my firstborn that if we have gotten a backstory flashback scene of his father, people probably would have then complained. We've seen this before. We've seen dads or parents be mean to their kids and their kids have a bunch of trauma. There's nothing new here. It's more daddy issues. Move on, please. Which is a valid point. We've gotten a lot of this type of daddy issue storylines in media in the past recent years. It's just basic parent trauma, a type of trauma that everybody has some kind of. And if you don't, great. Many do. It's sort of like Marvel with Uncle Ben's death, or DC with the Wayne's death, and how they tell that over and over in every single project. And every single time we're like, we know, we've seen it so many times. Stop. It's the same thing here, but with parent trauma. After seeing it so many times, as relatable as it is, we don't really need to see it be done again. The point is there, it goes without saying. Instead, what the season does is show us the effects of that parent trauma. And they do it through Jin Ha's brilliant performance. Rex Bailey had a psychotic break because of his trauma, and we are seeing the starting steps of a serial killer who truly believes deep down in his mind that killing is the only way for him to prove his father wrong in a dark, ironic sense. Sure, they laid it on a little thick, but I mean, that's kind of how it is in real life. And having a scene with his dad, sure, it would have been helpful overall, but it wasn't at all necessary. The point isn't who is the father, the point is look at what the father has done. Because this whole show is a parody on Hollywood, so I understood what they were doing, and I commend them, and I think it was good. Because think about it just a little bit. Rex went to go kill Sazz as Marshall the writer, but we saw Marshall kill Glenn as Rex Bailey. See, the thing is, Marshall kept saying, you're not a killer, you're a writer, you're not a killer, you're a writer, over and over, as he was literally stripping away the writer identity, finally concluding as the writer's identity is stripped away, he is a killer, Rex Bailey. Breaking point. He kills Sazz as Rex. And this to me tells me that Rex Bailey has dissociative identity disorder. That is why Marshall, as Marshall, during that whole time, oh, you're gonna investigate me, he truly did see himself separate from that crime, because he didn't do it. It wasn't Marshall, it was Rex. But again, it's a serial killer thing, it's so complex, but I kind of like it. I also went back and rewatched episode 5, and in that opening, we are given clues right then and there in his apartment that he was both fit and a shooter. They're a little bit stretches, so you can, take it with a grain of rice, if you will. But there's weight sets that gets moved around in that apartment, so he uses them periodically. There's also a bike in there, so we know this guy is fit as hell. And plus, I found that Marshall owns a book titled They Shouldn't Have Killed His Dog, which is a screenwriting book on the first 3 John Wick films for those who want to know how to write action films. And we all know how actiony those movies are. A lot of guns. Yet the OMITB movie is a murder mystery comedy? I should have seen that one coming. And then later in the episode, while interrogating him, Marshall mentioned that he has a perfect 2010 vision, which is better than 2020 vision. But it is also so rare that less than 1% of all humans have it. And it's more prevalent in those who eat healthier and exercise regularly, though it's not a contributing factor in the very end. This is all according to Commonwealth Eye Surgery.com. I did my research for this, and people called me crazy for it. I said in my episode 5 video that this was the defining factor of Marshall being a sniper, because there's no way that he would have insanely rare vision and not somehow be a sharpshooter. Plus, this dude is a pathological liar who is obsessed with telling stories, but obsessed with success stories like the trios. He said it himself, "I'm more of a storyteller." That is a season 2 reference. And then he tells Mabel and Charles that they're amateurs flailing their way to success. You haven't missed. An expert in their field will always talk like it. Film people talk in film terms. Gym people talk in gym terms. Snipers, gun people talk in sniper gun terms. Marshall dropping this bit is 100% a hint toward his marksman's origins, in my opinion. Behavior and language are key in character writing. Don't be mad if you didn't get this. Be impressed. So how did I do it? So since episode 1, my number 1 suspect for every single video was Marshall P. Pope. Top of the list. And in that video, I had theorized that Marshall had stolen the script, and I had already talked about this to no end, and I will forever claim the title of original owner of the stolen script theory. Find me a publicized piece of content that has a stolen script theory before my video on August 29th. Then I'll relinquish that title to that individual, but until then, but let's quickly break down episode 1 so you could see how I did what I did. Putting the screenwriter aspect aside, yes, that did help, but that was more of a mother's intuition kind of thing. Kind of confirmed it inside of me, which is hilarious because Mom was my nickname in college. Don't think about it too hard. But speaking about writers, here's something that might help you look at the roles of filmmaking with a little more perspective.
You know what I'm craving? A little perspective.
Everyone on set of a movie wants to tell a story. However, not everyone has a story to tell. Actors, for example, are given a story to tell, whereas writers have a story to tell. Both parties want to tell good stories, but only one has the abilities to construct the story as they see fit. So for writers, their scripts are their babies, and a parent would do anything to protect their child. There's that reference to season 3. So if this was Marshall's script, he wouldn't have been eager to change things in the script himself. I barely like making changes to my own script whenever I realize, damn it, that made no sense, or crap, that joke is better. Notice how the script starts going south once Marshall starts making changes to the script after being impressed by Mabel's dialogue.
Editor Ivan here, that's half true. I just also wanted to point out the fact that in episode 5, Oliver criticizes the way Marshall has written Oliver walking, and Oliver calls it bad writing. And since then, Marshall's trying to get the character of Oliver to do uncharacteristic things and things that are not fun and not funny, and I wonder if that is a slight revenge for calling Marshall's writing bad. I just thought that was kind of funny.
If you listen to the podcast, man, then you know how they would speak and conduct themselves. But this guy, he hadn't listened to the podcast. He was a fraud from the start. He was lying. Then body language. Notice how Marshall wanted to be around everyone, or would at least try to take notes of the conversations about the movie happening in that first episode, especially that conversation between Bev and Mabel. Throughout the rest of the show, whenever he is in the background, just notice his movements. They are very intentional. They're wide, they're heady, they're aggressive. These weren't the movements of a curious individual, i.e. nervous, smaller, smoother, slower. Again, I cannot stress enough that body language is everything. I think it's 85% of all communication is visual, so that means it's physical with your body, with what you wear. All of this is communication, and how somebody acts in a situation versus how they act in a different type of situation is everything to me. It's why I love shows like The Traitors or The Anonymous. And yes, I do have extensive higher education on public speaking and communication, which includes diction, vocal variety, vocal quality, body language and physicality, etc., etc., etc. So yes, that education did help me both notice and conclude that Marshall is a liar because someone who claims themselves to be who he was would never acted in any of those ways. Again, very intentional, not curious. Would I be able to do the same thing next year? I don't necessarily know if I will be able to, mainly because I was a little bit biased for this season. I just happened to have the correct education and interests that connected to the season that were also needed to figure out this mystery in the season. So I don't know if I can do it again a fifth time, but we're just gonna have to wait and see, because I'm not really sure what's gonna happen. To me, I treat OMITB like I am satisfied, I had my time, we had a summer fling, we flung. I'm gonna go take a break. I'm gonna go off, watch some other shows, have some fun with some other shows during this winter spring season. I'll see you next summer when it's time to summer fling again. But what about Lester? Don't worry, I'm gonna make a different video talking about Lester, because this one's already entirely way too long. We're gonna talk about Lester season 5, what we could potentially see in the final season of the OMITB crew. It's not confirmed to be the final season, but the creator of the show did say he has only 5 planned seasons, so the end game is upon us. So stay tuned for that video. But just to tease you, I actually figured out the approximate time of death for Lester the Doorman. Oh, it's gonna be so much fun. Don't forget to check out my friend Blake on his channel, Nerds at Night. He is awesome, and he's been doing OMITB coverage as well, and he's giving me a lot of interesting perspectives on this season as well. We've discussed a lot already. We're going to discuss a lot more. We're going to go over some theories. We're going to read your comments, so please comment on this and his videos. I'm not going to guarantee that we're going to get to yours, but we're definitely going to try. It's going to be a great time, and I cannot wait. That'll be up sometime next week. But for now, my social media links are in the description below, and I will see you. I was going to sneeze. No? Next time. You've just been Montified.